Hello and welcome. I'm Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations. Thank you for joining me here on the channel. If you have subscribed, thanks so very much. And if you haven't, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, keep me coming at you. We try and do a minimum of 2 different projects a week for you. So there is lots for you to go back and view and lots coming. So today what we're going to be doing, I have a combination of things. So I have this old frame. It's an okay frame. It's nothing particularly special, and it's more painted to look older than it really is. But it's got some cool detailings, and a lot of times I will just paint these out and sell them as is. This time I wanted to do it up as a decor piece. So we are going to be painting this out and distressing it, but then I got a bunch of old rope and an old little dollar store wreath. And we're going to be using this. And this rope, I had made a woven rope wreath. I'll tag it so you can go back and check it out if you want. I really loved it. It's a cool one, but I have a lot of these pieces left over. So, you know, I'm always looking to not throw stuff out, to be able to use them. And I decided that this would be a perfect way to do it. So because this rope is not a pure white, I am going to be using vintage linen from DIY, which is a little bit of kind of an old white color. If you, you know, it's white, but it's a little bit kind of beiged out, a little bit beiged out, if you kind of follow my drift. So the first thing that I am going to do is I am simply going to begin painting out my frame. Now, this already has like some of the black and some of the gold, and we're going to be distressing to bring some of that back. So I'm going to get 2 coats of paint on this, and then we will carry on with a bunch of the rest of what we're up to. While my frame is drying, I want to get started on the little wreath part of this craft. So I just have this old kind of woven little wreath. Now, you could use just about anything. So I didn't want it too big because, as you're going to see, it's going to expand outward. So I wanted something fairly small. You could use like a little round mirror frame from the dollar store. You could use a needlepoint hoop. You could use a little wreath frame like this. It's not going to matter. And what I have is this old cording. Now, I got this originally from the dollar store. It came in, I think, 6 foot, 9 foot lengths. And I used it in a craft, and these are the leftover pieces. So I do have a couple more that I just picked up from the dollar store. They just happen to have it again. And I love this stuff. So it's just like a cotton cord. You could use like a jute. You could use a thinner cord. You're gonna get the idea of what we're doing with it. And then you can play. The part that we're gonna want is that we want it to be able to unravel. That's gonna give us some volume at the end. So all I'm gonna do is I'm taking my length, and these are 22-inch lengths. The length, I anticipate that I'm gonna be cutting it back a little bit once it's done. It depends once I get it into the frame and how big it looks, and I'll play with it from there. So I want to have something that I can downsize if I need to, because I can't upsize it. So give yourself enough length to be able to play with when it's done. So you need to have enough that when you go to wrap it around, and so you see I fold it in half, I've taken that outside cord and I am pulling these through. And this is my wrong side, and this is my right side. So I always want to make sure that the next cord looks the same so that I have this loop on the outside. Okay, so it's always going to be nice and smooth there. So I'm going to fold this in half, tuck it under, pull my 2 lengths through, and just kind of pull it tight, nestle them together. Okay, that's it. Super simple, super easy. And the only thing that you're going to want to do is have some kind of, whatever your base is have it that if it's peeking through, you're okay with the look of it. All right, so I'm keeping mine fairly neutral, so I've got a fairly neutral colored base still. So all that I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to take my pieces, and I'm just going to continue to take these all the way around the outside. And then I'll come back for the next step. And in the meantime, I'm getting my second coat onto my frame. This is my wreath with everything tied on. Now you can see that this starts to create, tying the knots this way creates a bit of a rim. This side, there's no rim. You can do it either side, whichever one you like. I'm gonna do it with the knotted rim out, but you know, whatever, whichever you prefer. Now the next task, and one you might want to just sit and do in front of the television, is we're going to unwind all of these threads. Okay, so on all of these, we're going to unwind each. Now, mine has 3 strands, 3 big strands that are made up of multiple small strands. So here's the deal. Not only are you unwinding those 6, you're also unwinding all of these. Okay, so we want to get all these separate little threads kind of hanging out. So you can kind of just unravel them and kind of tease them apart a little bit. We'll kind of comb them a little bit later, but you want to get them sort of unraveled and a little bit separated. You don't have to do every single little strand at this stage, but we do want to get them sort of declumped. That's a technical term, I'm sure. So I'm just going to be slowly working my way around, doing this, getting them sort of separated out, teasing them apart a little bit, just so that when I go to brush, the brush can go through. It's not trying to go through this whole big clump all at once. But I'm going to want to do this all the way around. It's not hard. You just probably want to have on some music, a book on tape, or a really good movie while you're doing it. Now that my frame has been painted, I did 2 coats of the vintage linen. It's now time to distress it. You could dry sand this, meaning taking some high grit sandpaper to be able to distress it back, but I don't want to get down to the natural wood. I want to ensure that I get some of that dark and I get some of that gold showing through. So I'm using baby wipes, but you could just use a wet cloth. Up to you. And I am just simply reactivating that DIY paint because it has not been sealed, and I am using that moisture to be able to kind of remove some of that paint from the highs. And this is especially in these details, all these moldings that have been added on. I want to be able to reveal that. When I've done that to the point that I'm happy with it, to my satisfaction, then I will let this dry again because I've kind of dampened everything up. And then I am going to seal it with DIY clear wax. So I'm just going to take a brush, wipe it on, wipe any of the excess off, and let it dry. So that's all there is to this part of the process. But you can see, well, maybe if it's not too tall, there you go. You can see how that reveals all of those fun gold details there. And I'm getting some of the dark coming through on some of the edging. So it's going to be a nice contrast. And I don't want it to look super new and pristine anyway. That doesn't go with the look that I'm after. So perfect. I'm just going to carry on. Wet distress in this. Get it all done, and then I'll get it waxed up. I have finally got this all untwisted now. That was not a quick process. I have a lot of strands here, and they're really thick. So it was good taking it home and just kind of doing it on my own. You know, I had a book on tape and just sat there unwinding things. So, couple of things. If you're a reseller, this is probably not your friend because you're going to invest too much time in unraveling everything. If you're doing this for yourself, spend the time. I think it's going to be cute, but I'm just saying. So what I do want to do is this particular, so I want to just take a brush and I just want to brush out all these strands. I'm going to be cutting this back, and the straighter my strands are, the better my cuts are going to be. Because this is way bigger and a lot floppier than I need. Depending upon your rope, some rope is, you know, like this is still staying individual strands. All I'm doing is straightening it out. Some, as you brush it, it's actually going to tease it out even more, and it's going to kind of fuzz it all out. I think I would have liked that. That's not what I'm going to get here. And so that's okay. But this is a lot more length than I'm going to need. So I'm going to finish brushing all this out without you having to hear me brushing the paper. And then when it's all straight, I'll come back at you when it's time to start to trim. And I'll angle you down so you can see what the heck I'm doing as I'm trimming it out. So stay tuned. I don't have a lot of hair to brush, but I get to brush all this out instead. Okay, I've kind of hung my picture frame in here. This is the break where I'm going to have the top. And so I'm just getting an idea. I mean, here I've got clearance of about 3 inches. And 3 inches up here, 3 inches here. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to roughly cut it maybe to about 4, because this isn't stiff, it's going to flop. So I don't want it to be super short, but I need it shorter. So I'm going to take this away, and I'm going to just roughly kind of use this as a guide. Oh, I'm committed now. To start cutting all of this excess away. And I just want to keep my ruler handy just to keep checking every so often to make sure that I haven't started becoming 6 inches or 2 inches. So I'm gonna ultimately cut this all the way around, and then we'll be ready for the next step. All right, once I cut it, I did do another quick brush just to make sure, not that they're all perfectly even, but just that if I had any long threads, that they had been taken care of. Now, what I do want to do is I want to come up with my ribbons. So I am thinking that I want to layer this out, in which case I'm looking at taking maybe a big ribbon like this, and I'm going to be taking these up into, this is my frame. I'm going to be taking these up and nailing them into the back of the frame. All right, so this would be long enough, which gives me an idea. So if that's the back, I just want to fold them over slightly. Okay, so if that's the back, then I was thinking of maybe layering this one over top. So I need twice as much. I'm just seeing what this all looks like. This isn't very substantial, so I'm thinking I need to have it with this backing. One, it kind of darkens it, it gives it a little bit more depth, but you know, going and nailing that onto the back, I mean, that's just going to shred. And then I was thinking to layer this color on there. And so 2 more layers. This one. And maybe this ribbon. Okay, you know, 4 ribbons. It's not overkill, is it? Let's see. The worst thing that happens is I hate it. Okay, so taking that here. And that would be our look. Okay, I kind of like that. So then what we need to do okay, now I'm deciding which way I want it in my frame. I'm actually thinking I want it the other way. I thought that I'd want it this way. So I am just going to put this up in here, and I am just going to get my staple gun and staple it in. Okay, so one of the things that I wasn't sure is, as I was doing this, if I would want, you know, I was debating whether I wanted to do some solo wood flowers here and, you know, more embellishing. But the more that I look at it, the more that I think that I'm with it, just like this. That I like that nature. Now, I may decide, I haven't decided, because this is floppy. Now, I could decide to cut that short. So cut it shorter and then allow it to lengthen till it gets down here, which is a possibility if you just want it to be able to stick upright, making it longer toward the end. But those are kind of aesthetic choices for, for you to make. You might find that the rope that you used is particularly stiff, in which case that's not an issue for you. It all kind of bottle brushes out. You may find that you liked it left really, really long and all kind of flopping and drooping. I have lots of the fiber left, which I will put into a bag and I will save for another project, possibly as a stuffing, who knows. But this I like how this turned out. This is pretty cool. I like this as kind of a decor item. But what I didn't like as much was the teasing all this apart. It was easy, but it was time consuming. So, as a reseller, this project is a I've done it once and I'm really happy with that and I'm never doing it again project. Only because it took far too much of my time to be able to separate out all of those fibers. If you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it as a gift, it wasn't involved work. It was kind of relaxing. You're just doing something. If you're like me and you need to be doing something, if the television's on, if you're listening to a book on tape, perfect, because this is the craft for you. See how it goes. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm gonna hang it and stage it up, and we'll see when I do that what I decide in terms of cutting it back. But it's kind of cool, and I think it's a fun way of doing this. Easy to pop those staples out and to hang a different wreath for different seasons, if you wanted to drop a Christmas one in. So being able to use this as ongoing decor, pretty easy. So yeah, I'm kind of digging it, guys. Not bad. I'm pleased I made it. I just don't want to make it again. As always, thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. And until then, take care.